Good evening. Thank you for attending. We're going to call to order the commission meeting of July 12th, located at 3631 Perkins Avenue, which is our main office. The time is now 6:03 p.m. The next item of business is to conduct a roll call. Commissioner Adams.
Present.
Commissioner Benito.
Present.
Commissioner Schurer.
Present.
Commissioner Donaldson.
Present.
Commissioner Early.
Present.
Commissioner Garrett Ferguson. She's on her way. Commissioner Kennedy. Commissioner Reeves.
Present.
Chair Ridgway. Here. Commissioner Van Leer.
Present.
Chair Rodriguez. Present. Commissioner Wong.
Present.
Commissioner Zaid. The quorum of commissioners needed to conduct business has been met. So we're going to review the agenda, but because it is a special meeting, the agenda will be as approved as sent out. The next item of business is to discuss meeting decorum. It's very imperative that we review to ensure that we're all on the same page. These items are on the second page, which is the back of your agenda. And just to highlight that the public comment will occur at the last session of the meeting because it is a special meeting. Per Robert Rules of Order, we have to ensure that we ensure that all the items on the agenda are completed. But to do a quick review of the guidelines, everyone is encouraged to participate. It is imperative that we listen to all voices and respect any time frames that is provided. Please step to the mic when it's your time. State your name, of course, where you live, and your perspective that you're willing to share. One person will speak at a time, and we will refrain from side conversations to ensure that we're able to hear the business. Public comment for this portion of the meeting will occur approximately at 7:50 p.m., depending on, how we're able to move the business forward. If there's any questions prior or before that arises, please feel free to reach out to staff or email if something arises after at clecpc@clevelandohio.gov. Just for reference, the public comment section is at the second page of the agenda, and it will occur at the end of the meeting because it is a special meeting. The next item of business is the approval of the minutes. The minutes was distributed via our email. At this time, is there any corrections or any additions?
Can I make a comment? Okay. I looked at the minutes and I just felt that they were not detailed enough. My suggestion would be that we add more details to the minutes.
Okay, so we have that comment. So I guess to take a vote, the minutes from July, was it June? June 14th was sent out via email. Can I please have a motion for it?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
The question is on the adoption to approve the minutes from June 14th. I'm going to conduct a roll call. Commissioner Adams?
Nay.
Commissioner Benito?
Nay.
Commissioner Schurer?
Nay, for the same reasons as discussed by Dr. Adams.
Commissioner Donaldson?
Nay.
Commissioner Early?
Nay.
Commissioner Reeves?
Nay.
Chair Ridgway?
Nay.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Yes.
Chair Rodriguez? I'll say nay. Commissioner Wong?
Aye.
The minutes, that particular motion was not carried, so it will go back to the staff for further revisions. Thank you so much for completing this task. The next item of business will be a presentation from Chair Adams pertaining to our CPC grant presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Like we got a full house. Could barely find a parking spot. Just gonna try to. All right. So, as we all know, one of the things that the commission is tasked with is the allocation of the $1.08 million for the community grants to be awarded that was in Charter 115. So over the past, I guess, 6 months or so, the Budget and Grants Committee has put together a program so that we are able to award grants, which is one of our responsibilities to the community. So in the past couple of weeks, we have launched the program. So what we're going to do today is we will, and I say we because we're a committee, so although I'll do most of the talking, I'm going to say to the rest of the people of the committee, if you feel like you would like to say something during the presentation, please feel free to let me know. So what we want to do today is have what we're calling an informational session on sort of what the program is, who qualifies for the program, what are the guidelines for applying for the program, what are the timelines, and how much can community organizations and grassroots organizations apply for. So this is essentially meant to inform the community and inform anyone who doesn't know about the grants program. So before we get into the presentation, I'm going to say, please, 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 please share this with as many people as possible, because we are very passionate about making sure that people in the community, organizations and grassroots organizations who qualify, that they apply, because we want the funds to serve their purpose, which is to decrease violence in the Cleveland community, to allow police to focus on more serious matters. So that is the goal of the program. So we'll start. The program, as it says, is the grants program is to fund local Cleveland-based violence prevention, restorative justice, and mediation programs, which will be explained later in this presentation, that reduce the need for police activity. So that is the goal of the program. I'm going to move this a little bit. So the goal of the program is to fund community-led initiatives that address trauma, violence prevention, and conflict resolution that are beneficial for both the community and the officers. And these programs, typically, what we would like them to do is empower citizens at the grassroots level to take direct action when faced with certain problems. This can reduce the overall strain of police resources and free them to focus on other matters of public safety. So I think that when we think about the overall I guess, objective of the grants program, we would like to see the community in different capacities in the three types of grants that we'll grant. We would like the community to be involved in helping to address the concerns in their community. So the idea is that people in their communities know their communities better than people outside of their community. So we hope that the grants will allow the community to be a little bit more proactive and be empowered to be involved in some of the issues that are confronting our city right now. This is a quote from our co-chair, Jan Ridgway. She said that, do you want to read your own quote?
God, I made it. We are excited to launch a grant program that directly supports Cleveland residents in creating meaningful impact in our community. This grant opportunity will give funds directly to Cleveland organizations to develop community-centered initiatives that can reduce and prevent violence in our community and improve relationships between our communities and our police department.
Thank you. I think that's another important part of what we would like to accomplish with the program. It's about empowering the community, but it's also about building more bridges and stronger relationships between the community and our police department. So, and I also wanted to say, I didn't say before, but at the end of this presentation, there will be time for comments and questions. So if there are anyone who's here who needs anything clarified, there will be time for that. So don't worry about that. You'll be able to ask whatever questions you need to ask and make whatever comments you need to make as well. So who's eligible? So the eligibility is you must be a 501c3 not-for-profit with tax-exempt status, or if you are a grassroots organization or an individual who does not have that tax-exempt status, you will be required to find what we would call a fiscal agent. And that's essentially an organization with that tax-exempt status. And if you can find a fiscal agent that can sponsor you, even if you are not your own established 501c3 or not-for-profit, you will still be eligible to apply for grants. And obviously, you have to also be in Cleveland. So our budget, I talked about this a little bit before. Due to the passage of issue 24 and the new Charter 115.5 in the Cleveland Code, the commission receives 0.5% of the police budget for grant awarding. So for this year, that gives us $1.08 million. So that is what we have to give out, and we're hoping that we will be able to allocate and award as much of that to the community. Our funding levels. So essentially, there was a lot of discussion about how high we should go in terms of awarding grants, and so we decided that we would award grants up to $50,000. However, if there is an organization who has a need that is over $50,000, we are also willing to award those organizations as well. However, anything over $50,000, we are required by law to go to City Council for approval. So we are willing to do that, but it requires perhaps like some sort of presentation or something that's going to be more detailed that the council will let us know about. But anything over $50,000 will have to go to the City Council. So we will work through that process. But you're not limited to $50,000, but $50,000 is what we can handle within the commission. And so if you're over that, we will have to go to council. Commissioner Wong?
I did, and I don't know if it's changed, but from when I was on the Budget and Grants Committee, I remember Mr. Thomas from the city saying that it should be technically under 50,000. If it's 50, then it has to go to.
No.
It's now 50.
It's just over 50. So
Over 50. Okay, good. I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you.
you.
And the other thing we need to on this slide is that we are not awarding grants for multiple years. So if you apply for a grant this year and you're awarded it, that will be for this year. But if you would like to apply again next year, you are allowed to apply the next year. But we will not be awarding like a 2 or 3 year grant to any organizations. But you are free to apply each year. And so here we'll look at the definitions, and thank you to Commissioner Van Leer for putting this together for us. So we'll just go through now the 3 types of grants that we will be rewarding, and give you all sort of an idea of like what type of maybe like organizations could fall under those. So the first is restorative justice. So essentially with a restorative justice, this is just an approach that seeks healing by bringing the community member who has been harmed and the person responsible for the harm. The goal is to give the person who committed the offense an opportunity to take responsibility for their action and to discourage them from causing further harm. For the community member who has been harmed, the goal is to give them an active role in the process and to reduce feelings of anxiety and powerlessness. So essentially what restorative justice wants is it wants to move away from like the more punitive aspects of everything. So the whole goal of restorative justice is that if you can bring the victim and the perpetrator together, the idea is that the perpetrator will basically recognize the harm that they've caused to the other individual and the harm that it caused to the community, and that the person who is the victim, that they will get some type of what's the word I'm looking for? That they will, I guess, be able to start their healing process because they've had a chance to sort of work through whatever traumas or the effects of whatever the victimization was. So the idea of restorative justice is sort of to, I guess, like heal wounds in a way that allows people, the aggrieved, to move forward in a way that is more holistic and healthy. So we're looking for that. That's restorative justice. And then I just found this online. It is sort of a Venn diagram that shows sort of like what restorative justice is. So there's like different levels of it. What we're looking at essentially is we're aiming for what's fully restorative. So what we would like, essentially, as we said before, like the whole goal of these grants is sort of to empower the community to address the issues in their community. So we're looking for, things like like a peace circle or things that give people group counseling or conferencing, but essentially things that would bring the community together. So this is just like an example of sort of all of these things here are restorative in some way or another. But we ideally would want to get to the yellow, but I don't think that we would say you're not in the yellow, so you don't get a grant. I don't think it's going to work that way. Also, the violence prevention program. This one's a little bit more, I think, less abstract. It's an approach that uses evidence-informed strategies to reduce violence through community-centered initiatives that address trauma, provide opportunity, and improve the physical, social, and economic conditions that drive violence. So I think this category is a little broader than the others because this can look a lot of different ways. This could be programs that after school programs for youth. It could be something like a program that had maybe youth. I always think about, I said if I were ever going to apply for a grant, I would have a program that had youth like clean up the community and go do, I know during the pandemic, I have elderly people on my street and I didn't want them, out in the public because it was COVID. And so I would just go and I would go to the store for like my disabled neighbor and things like that. Or like having kids maybe like, keep them off the streets, like cutting grass in the community and maybe painting murals and maybe that's just for me what I would do. But I think that these programs essentially just need to create programs that in some way, shape, or form are going to help reduce violence in the community. And these are just a few examples that I found of some violence-based programs. Some of these I never even thought of before I looked at them online, but this hospital-based violence interruption programs, group violence intervention, violence interpreters. I'm not going to read all of this stuff, but these are just some examples that I found. I would hope that if people that are out there listening or people that are here, this is just like not speaking for the commission, but personally, I would hope that we would get programs that really help youth. I mean, just a few days ago, I was a victim of my car getting stolen out of my driveway by some kids, right? So maybe if there were some programs in place for them, maybe those kids would have been doing something else instead of coming on my property and stealing my car and leaving it in Ohio City. So I would hope that we can help the youth with some of these programs as well. And then mediation, essentially what we want with the mediation programs is it's very similar to aspects of I think, restorative justice. But like I said, the overall goal of this grant program is to empower the community to figure out solutions to the issues that they see in their community. But essentially what the mediation program would do is the community somehow would sort of take the lead on addressing the issues in their communities. So what we want is a space for the community to discuss their own and their community's unique concerns and needs, and the mediators provide a safe and supportive environment for participants to hold difficult conversations and ensure participants retain decision-making authority over the conflict resolution process and outcome. Essentially, like I said, this is I guess the design of this is so that the community will, like I said, take the lead on the issues that they see confronting their communities. All right. How do you apply? So we have the application link here. I do know that if you go to clecpc.org and go to the resource tab, you can also find the application and you can download it. If you are unable to access the application online or complete it online, you may also come to the CPC office here and pick the application up, or you can call the office and the staff will be willing to mail a version of the application out to you. What's not here because we did this earlier, but today we also got a Spanish version of the application, a Arabic version of the application, and a Mandarin version of the application. So those translations have come in, and so if there are people in our community who are not English first speakers and they prefer those in a different language, we do have those 3 versions available as well. And if you need support, you can also call the CPC office and the staff will be willing to help you. You can reach out to a commissioner if you're comfortable doing that. Or you can also email cpcgrants@clevelandohio.org, and all members of the Budget and Grants Committee, all the staff, as well as the co-chairs have access to that account. So you can, those are the ways that you can apply and that you can seek support. How to apply. So I think we I kind of covered this already, but you can download it, you can get the printed applications, or you can request that it's mailed to you. And then if you have a physical copy, you can mail it in, you can submit it online through the CPC grants email, or you can just drop it off at the office. So whatever's most convenient for you, you can do that. And a grant report. So, you know, as we issue these grants, we also want to oversee them and make sure that the grants are being used for the purposes that they said that they were going to be used for in their applications. So we are going to ask for 2 reports. One report will be an interim report that'll be issued 6 months after you receive the grant, and then the second report will be the final report, which will be due 30 days after the grant period has ended. And so what we would like to see in those reports is that that you should include how you the measure impact of the work completed as far as part of the funded project. Chair Ridgway?
Just a quick question on behalf of the applicants. When they apply for a grant, if they receive the grant, and when they get ready to do the 6-month report, will there be a form provided for them to complete for that 6-month period, or is it a report that should be generated by the receiver of the grant? Just looking at what those impacted measures are?
I think that we have not gotten that far in terms of the report and how the formatting it, but I do think that that's a good suggestion, and so we'll bring that to the Budget and Grants Committee. But just listening to your comment, I would think that we should provide some type of structure for the applicants and the grantees just to give them some guidance. So I think that, you know, I can't speak for the committee because we need to meet, but I think that's a good suggestion.
It also would provide standard reporting. Everybody would be providing the same kind of information. Yeah.
The reporting process was discussed in the work group, so we're working on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. And then our deadlines. So the applications are due Monday, July 1st at 5 p.m. We are expecting a 2 to 3 week period to review applications. Excuse me. I'm sorry, the July 31st. I'm sorry. Thanks. We are expecting a 2 to 3 week turnover, but we would like to make all decisions for grants by August 31st, and we would like to typically begin distributing funds in October. However, you know, this is our first time doing it, so we're not exactly sure how long the whole entire process will take. So it is possible that grantees can receive funds before October, but we don't want to promise that because we just don't know exactly how long the process will take. But it is possible. We'll be accepting, reviewing applications on a rolling basis. So it's not like, like for example, we've gotten a few applications in already, and so they're going to go under review. So we're not going to wait until July 31st to start reviewing applications. And this is if you need to contact us, here's our information. There is, again, the clcpc@clevelandohio.gov, but we also have the budget and grants direct mail, which is here, cpcgrants@clevelandohio.gov. And I think that's all I have. I don't know if there's commissioners, budget and grant committee people who would like to add anything or say anything, but I'll open up to commissioners to make statements first, and then we'll open up to the public. All right, thank you. Public, do you have any questions? Or you got some, Kyle?
So I was asking a question about the deadline. Can you explain why that is the deadline? Not that there's a problem, but just so we have clarity of why July 31st was chosen.
So that we can get the money out in time so that people can spend it. Because we formed the commission, we got started, and then we didn't have the program, so we had to create the program. But because we had to create the program, it kind of ate into what normally would be the time we would give out grants. So I know that next year we're looking to push this out in like February, March. But we didn't have a program, so we had to put the program together first. But it does put a time crunch. So we were working from a November 1st deadline, and then we kind of just worked backwards from there to make sure that we would be able to have all the funds out by November 1st. So that's why we have a July 31st deadline.
So just to provide follow-up, because there are some, so for the MOUs, they have to go through the law department and be reviewed. So there are some deadlines that we have to meet, as well as that the money will go back to the city into the general fund. So I'm not sure if that is a hard I mean, it is, but we need to see how many grants are received and things of that nature, because we may want to extend it, but we have to keep those things in mind, that there are other departments, and as well as that timeline. That's a hard timeline that will have to be met.
Commissioner Donaldson?
Yes, can you also just talk about the follow-up process as far as if there's going to be a certain amount of time that people will have to spend the money, if receipts are going to be required, just so the community can hear that part as well?
Receipts will definitely be required. I think everything has to be accounted for because this is public money. But I think that, say your question again. I kind of got lost.
Amount of time that they will have to spend the grant money. Is there a deadline or something on that? And then just the follow-up process, like what needs to be included with the report, receipts, and those types of
I think that they have a year from the granting of the, yeah, because we're asking for the, right, right, right. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then it will be outlined in the MOU. So that's a memorandum of understanding. So that's between that agency or organization and then the city. So a lot of this will be spelled out in detail, if that makes sense.
But we are looking at like a year. So that's why we said 12 months after you receive it, we would like the report 30 days after. Commissioner Benito?
Yeah, well, I just want to thank all the folks on the Budget and Grants Committee. I know you guys have done great work on this, and it's really exciting to see this rolling out. I guess one kind of message I wanted to put out to the public is, we really are encouraging grassroots organizations, folks that we know that there's a lot of people who aren't necessarily connected to a nonprofit that are running programs and doing great work, and we want to make it accessible. And so one thing is, if you've never applied for a grant before, this is your first time, or you feel you're not totally sure if is the work that I'm doing, does it fit into one of these categories, our office, our staff, and also our commissioners are happy to talk with you about your ideas, potentially look over draft, and just we really wanted to make it accessible to people. And so I just really encourage you, if there's any kind of concern or trepidation, or does this fit in with what you guys are looking for, definitely reach out to us, send an email, talk to our staff, and we really want to work with the community to make this as accessible for people as possible.
Commissioner Early?
Yeah, I would also ask the Grants and Budget Committee to consider grant support and grant management support for those who are new to this process. That can be a big trip up and hang up for many new organizations. So as much support that we can provide with them with reporting, billing, and management, that would also be a great asset to what we do with them as well.
To that, so I'm glad you said that. One of the things that we are encouraging the community members to do is to, between now and the deadline, that if they need anything, we would like them to set up appointments to meet with us in the office, or we can do a Zoom call or whatever works for that community member organization. Oh, and Commissioner Zayed says she's already, go ahead.
I've met with about 3 people to discuss the process and walk them through the application, and I've sent the application to like a dozen people. So, and I invited a few people here today.
Commissioner Ridgway? I'm sorry, Commissioner Wong, I'm sorry.
So that is what I wanted to follow up on, because I remember in our initial discussion there were workshops that we were going to do. I would just encourage that, because there might be a lot of people and we reach different parts of the communities, that if all the commissioners can volunteer and be there for explaining the process of the grant making process, and even if the person is not awarded a grant, certainly hopefully that they can learn through this process how to better present their ideas next time. So yeah, I do really, I'm meeting with a few people too, but I realize the deadline is tight, so hopefully we'll get enough people, but I'm hoping that there could be some, at least, leeway on that, just because we got that application out later than we anticipated.
Well, so the topic of the deadline, this is a conversation that has been happening behind the scenes, because we know that it's a tight deadline. But I think that it's important that we also do this in a way that we can manage it. So it's tough, because we do want to, I'm the type of person, I would love to extend the time, but like I said, we are still learning the process. We don't know exactly how long it takes to review the applications. We don't know how many we're going to get. So we just want to play it a little bit safe, because we don't want to bite off more than we can chew. But that conversation about potentially maybe opening up another week or another week and a half or two, depending on how things look, that conversation is happening. But where we are with it right now is because we've already put this in place. We've set this up. We're going to stick with what we have. And then if we need to make an adjustment, I think we're willing to make that adjustment. Commissioner Ridgway?
Yes, I believe that what we want to do as a commission is strongly encourage our community to apply for these grants. And while the focus includes nonprofits, you do not have to be a nonprofit to request money through this grant process. There are so many nonprofits out there already who might be willing, and most of them are gladly willing to serve as your fiscal agent. They will help you complete that application. They will help you with the distribution of those dollars. They will help you with the accountability piece and the reporting part of that. And so don't be deterred by this grant process if you are not a nonprofit. There are many nonprofits out there that would be willing to work with you and to serve as fiscal agents.
So I guess at this point we can open up to the public.
Testing. Okay. Hi, my name is Charmaine Jordan Payton. I live in the Central neighborhood, Ward 5, and I'm with the Men and Women of Central, so I have a few questions. My first question is, if you're a nonprofit applying for the grant, can you also act as a fiscal agent to a grassroots organization applying for the grant?
I don't think there's no conflict with that.
Okay. Second question is for organizations who are applying for more than $50,000, does the same deadline apply? Are you still looking to submit the funding?
I think the
Yeah.
deadlines are all the same. I think that if you are, what I would say,
For approval? Yep.
all the approval. It's just the only thing that's different is the approval process. It requires us to go to city council, but everything else is essentially the same.
And we can't determine that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Final question is, do you have a list of what the grant funds can be applied to?
So the grants so in order to qualify for the grants, you have to fall within restorative justice, violence prevention, or mediation.
Okay, so
as
I'm
long as it
referring to
falls-
like services, like salaries, food. Do you have like that
Well-
type of list or any general? Operating.
I think. Excuse, say that one more time. Yeah, because one of the things we talked about in the committee was that there may, some of these organizations that's the type of support that they need. Okay. So I think what we would emphasize is if you need those funds, just lay it out in your application and when you have to submit your budget, but as much detail as you can provide, the better. But we are willing to fund new organizations as well. So like I said, we are trying to really make this as available to the community as possible. So the answer to your question would be yes.
So question 11 of the application says type of funding request, and it says capacity building, operations, project program, training, education, and expansion. So please be mindful that this is still a pilot program and this is our first year. So when we go through that MOU process, we will really spell out, it will be specific to your grant, if that makes sense,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because these are city funds and this is our first year. So we're still navigating and we're still learning. But based on what we agreed and our understanding, and it went through approval, is capacity building, is number 11 of the application, capacity building, operations, project and program, training and education, and expansion.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And if you need some, if you're not sure, I would encourage you to just send an email out to the CPC grants email, or you can call the office, but we are willing to help you along the process. So if you need something, you're not sure about something, I would say, I would encourage you just to reach out to one of the commissioners or the staff, or send an email so that we can help you and increase the chances that we can approve you for the money.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Victoria Trotter, and I am the Executive Director of Green Movement Glenville. We have a big mission, and we're paving the way for the Green Movement in Glenville. So we have this vision that we can create a space that encourages a healthy lifestyle, eco-activism, because climate change is real, and entrepreneurship. It's more specifically youth entrepreneurship. And one of my questions is, how will you determine if a program is productive, if it's effective? Are there going to be metrics? You have to have so many people enrolled, you have to address so many citizens. How do you determine if that program is working for this project?
I guess the way I think about that is, I think the construction of the application is really important in that sense, because I think it is up to the applicants to demonstrate to the commission of the impact. So we're looking for programs that are going to have an impact on the community as well. And then we also, are we going to share this with the community? But we do have a, we're not going to, this is just in-house, but we do have a form where we have several items that we will be looking for. And that will be like, it's like a scoring rubric that we have. Anyone else? I'm not sure, but I'll tell them. And then this PowerPoint is available over on the table over here in the front if no one picked it up. So I would say thank you to everyone, and again, please, if there are any concerns or questions, I would say err on the side of contacting the commission for clarity. We really want to help these organizations in the community to meet the objectives of this program. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. The next item of business is the co-chair report, and I know that Chair Ridgway would like to say something.
So I'm going to stand and go to the mic because not only will I be speaking to the commission, I will also be speaking to the public that's here tonight, but I additionally will be speaking to those of you at home who are listening and viewing this program. And I'm not afraid of giving you anything, but I have a really depressed immune system right now, and so I want to remove the mask but not sit next to you once I do that. So thank you. This is an open letter to our community, to our police department, and to our commission. This letter is on behalf of the co-chairs. I have been sick the last 4 days, which means that I've had a lot of time to think. And I believe that it is important that we share a viewpoint with all of you that is not tempered or interpreted or clarified by a middle person, whether it's a journalist, whether it's the host of a radio show or a television show. These are words that are coming from us to you. What we hope is that this letter will become part of our minutes and that it will also be posted on the Commission's website. By the end of December 2022, 13 individuals had been selected and had taken the oath to serve as public officials on Cleveland's Community Police Commission. Each of us committed to improve the welfare of this city. We committed to constitutional policing reform. We committed to improving relations between our community and our police department. We committed to creating a safer Cleveland for all of our residents. We came to this commission with common concerns and with common goals, prescribed initially and in part by Issue 24, strengthened by your vote, strengthened again by the City Charter 115 through 5, and strengthened again by the mandates that we must meet by the federal consent decree. 13 individuals, 13 of us came to this commission with common concerns and with common goals. These cannot be accomplished unless we also bring to this commission a collaborative will. You see, we are not a monolithic group. Our strongest asset is our diversity, but it's also our most threatening part of what we do. We do not think alike. We bring such a strong diversity of thoughts and experiences and community engagement to this work. But at some point, they must all coalesce around a collaborative will.
With the goals that we committed to when we raised our hands and took the oath of office, it requires painstaking work. It is not easy work. It requires that every decision should not be only about the now, but about a future Cleveland where all of its citizens can not only succeed, but thrive in a safe and a healthy community. We did not come to this table to demonize the police department. Police is needed in a civil society. The work that we are charged to do will help to create a standard of safety in our community, reforming policies and procedures and identifying unacceptable behavior that need to and must be changed. Already we are working collectively with police to make this happen. We are realistic enough to know that there will be challenges and there will be pushbacks, but that will not deter our mission. We both exist, the police and this commission. We both exist to protect and to serve this community. We cannot be expected to change century-old cultural practices and norms until we learn how to grow and we learn how to change and we learn the meaning of collaborative will. There is dignity that is required in this work. There's compassion that is required. There is objectivity that is required. There's fairness, and there must be transparency. And the one thing that is non-negotiable on both sides of the table is respect. We must bring respect to everything we do. And we must be as receptive and non-defensive to constructive criticism as we are gracious and humbled receiving accolades. One incident, and what a public incident it was. It cannot be allowed to overshadow the critical work that is required of this commission. We must be unflinching in accomplishing what this community expected of us when we were selected. And we must learn to drive our own narrative. And it must be a clear narrative and one that unless we drive it, will be driven by others, let alone the media. We came to this commission all fired up and ready to go. We need to reignite that fire within our commission, within our community, and within our police department. We have work to do. We have to rebuild credibility. We have to rebuild confidence within our group and within the community that we were selected to serve. Every decision that we make affects this community. And the one thing that I cannot say enough, that this commission, these 13 people who were selected to serve, who took an oath of office to serve, we too are Clevelanders. We live in this community. We work for this community. And every decision we make must be to the benefit of a community that selected us to do the work to make a safer and a healthier Cleveland.
Thank you. So that's the co-chair. I believe that we can use challenges to allow us to grow, to explore problems, and really build if we allow it. So the next item of business will be, well, the next item for the co-chair report is the next meeting, which is July 26th at, was it the Lee and Harvard Community?
Harvard Community.
Harvard Community. We do have an update that the mayor will not be in attendance. He has a conflict at that meeting, but please still be in attendance. It's July 26th, 2023 at the Harvard Community Services. Is there anything else we should?
We need to let them know about
the motion?
The 28th discussions, conversations.
Oh yeah, we want to remind you of our conversation. It's the final one. It's July 28th at Case Western Reserve. I don't know if Ms. Williams, would you like to speak more in depth about that, or?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to highlight the Cleveland Conversation Series. As you know, it's been a 5-part conversation series, and July 28th, we are having our final conversation. It promises to be one of the most powerful conversations of the summer. We have as our keynote speaker, Attorney Lee Merritt. He is the attorney for the Ahmaud Arbery family. He will be joined by moderator Habiba Grimes. She is one of Cleveland's very own, as well as some of Cleveland's very prominent mental health therapists, Latoya Logan, who owns Project Lift, Eric King, who owns Mental and Emotional Wellness Centers of Ohio, and Billy Gilliam, who owns Parker Counseling and Consulting, as well as Jewel Woods. So we have a star-studded lineup. That is our AM panel conversation. And then we have a lunchtime keynote conversation as well. We will have Cleveland's very own Kareem Hinton, who will moderate the conversation, O.C. May Neal, who is the president and CEO of Spread the Love Foundation. That is Crazy Bones of Bones Thugs and Harmony. That's his foundation. And we also have out of Louisville, Kentucky, Black Lives Matter owner, president and CEO, Chanel Helm. She's a very powerful speaker. And then we have performances by the Sparrow's Fortune. This is a free and open event, open to the public event. We will be serving breakfast and lunch. It is a semi-all-day event. It's from 8 until 2 p.m. It will be at Case Western Reserve's Tinkham Center. So please come out and join us. You will have an amazing, amazing time. Thank you.
Parking, she needs to mention parking.
Thank you. So there's no other business for the co-chair report. Maybe we have interim executive director, Mr. Goodrick, speak.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, we're still on. All right. Thank you for the wonderful attendance this evening. We have a packed house here. If you can't see it on the camera, we always appreciate the public support. The first thing I would like to just say, and I've said it before, this is to the commissioners. Although we had a little setback at one meeting, you should still be very proud of yourselves. From my perspective, I've said it before, I've seen 3 iterations of the commission come through here, and you guys are really putting in the work. You're showing up, you're putting in the time, you've accomplished a great deal. So, there's a lot to be told about your story still. And I promise you it won't hinge on one moment. It's not about the obstacles we face or the conflict we have getting there. That's not what the story is. It's about the end result of the work. And you're about to get to work. And what people don't understand is in order to do that work, you had to put in a tremendous amount of pre-work, right? You had to sit there and do over 40 hours of training, between 40 and 60. You had to set up your committees. You had to work through your rules. So there was a lot of stuff to be done. And I don't think any other group could have done it any faster than you have. So you should pat yourselves on the back and you should be proud of how far you've come. And it is stressful and it is hard. And a lot of people are watching you and there will always be people second guessing you. But I will say, I'm very proud of everything you've accomplished so far. I'm proud of the way that you work together. Even though there are some differences, it will be irrelevant when you start to do the real work and you've put together the committees to do the real work, the work the community asks you to do, and we're going to get there. And that will be your story. So you're coming up with a strategic plan. Excellent execution of that plan is all that's going to matter in the long run. So hold your heads high and keep moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay. So the next thing I will say is operational updates. The job posting for office manager, after some time passed, we were able to get our applications forwarded to the commission that applied. We had about 27 applicants, so this will be an extremely critical position. It's front-end office work. It's helping with logistics and coordination. It will be a large part of the financial management of the grants. We have a 3-person committee, and it consists of myself, Sarah Anderson, who's on staff, and the gracious time commitment from Commissioner Donaldson, who has agreed to help with the selection of that person. And we hope to begin interviews within the next couple of weeks here. So it could be within 60 days. I'm hopeful that we will finally have that position filled. So moving on to the next position, which is the one that the community's been waiting for and we have heard a lot about, and that is having a staff attorney for the CPC. So if you were following us early on at the budget committee hearing, we had a couple of discussions on how this could go, right? The one that ultimately we selected from a staff perspective, working with the law department, is what is an assistant director of law. So what does that mean? Okay, an assistant director of law reports to the law department, right? And what that does is empower all attorneys who work for the city that are empowered to work as attorneys go through the law department, right? So ultimately, they are a law department employee, right? But they are, this will be a timeshare arrangement because of budgetary things, right? So half the time that they're at work, they will be working exclusively for us and reporting to the executive director, right? So why does that matter, right? It matters because let's look at 115.5 first, because this will be a controversial issue. So I want to read right from what the law says, okay? So all city departments, and we are a city department, right? The first point of legal advice is the city law department, right? So how does the CPC different, okay? There is a provision in 115.5, right, where if we don't agree with legal advice we're receiving through our staff attorney, right, we can engage outside legal services at the Department of Law expense when the commission determines it is at its discretion that there's a conflict of interest between the commission's mission and representation from the city's law department, right? So it is a standard practice for the law department to embed attorneys in other departments, right, that need a lot of legal advice. We clearly fit that mold. So we will have an embedded staff attorney. It doesn't mean that if we don't agree with the advice that we are getting from our in-house staff attorney, we still have at our discretion the ability to ask the law director to hire an outside counsel. Now, do I see that? Do I see us having a continuous conflict of interest, right? Because people will say, well, you need an outside attorney now. Well, the law says we need to identify first a conflict of interest. Right now, there's a ghost of a conflict of interest in the room all the time. We hear about that, right? But we don't have a legal question that we've had an answer to, that we can pin down and say we need outside counsel, right? So on a day-to-day basis, that just won't happen a lot. And in my opinion, it won't happen a lot for a couple reasons. One, the law department recognizes your importance. They recognize 115.5, and they want to help you succeed for based on what they have told us, right? And we looked at this position really, really hard, and we discussed it, and we brought up the concerns, right? What about trust? What about transparency? And after long deliberation, we decided that this can really work, right? It will work. We will get good legal advice, and when we don't, we still have the option of contesting it and asking for an outside attorney. But will that happen? Probably not, because it will be a high taxpayer expense. So more than likely what will happen is this attorney on staff will help us mediate that conflict until we come to an agreed upon resolution. That is in the job description. So everyone has a copy of the job description. It is going through budgetary approval right now. The typical pay for an attorney, a staff attorney, it starts at $75,000 and works it all the way up to the low 100s. We don't know exactly where we'll fall yet. It depends on the qualifications and things like that. But we do have enough budget to cost share. Again, it's taxpayer money, so we are going to cost share this position with the law department. If it becomes a point where we need them more than 20 hours a week, we will be able to approach council next year with actual numbers and say, look, we're pushing the point where we need an attorney full-time, right? But we don't have that yet, so we're starting out with this attorney roughly 20 hours a week. When they're not with us, they'll be working on things that aren't in conflict with the work we do. So they will be basically a contract attorney for the city. They will help with more in-house legal turnkey things that are not related to police reform, not related to police reform work, not working with the unions or any other thing. So there will not be a conflict with what they do on the other side of the house when they're not here with us, okay? So you have the job description. I'm excited to move this forward. I have tried my best to get us an attorney by August. Believe me, we are working as fast as possible to do that. Things are slow in a city sometimes. So this is quite fast in my opinion to work to this point where we are now. So if you have any questions, I'm open to talking about this position in the questions.
Okay. So I'm a little concerned that I certainly didn't know that this was a decision that was made. I don't know which parties were involved in it. From the very beginning, as you said, that there's a ghost of a conflict of interest, but as the old saying goes, where there's smoke, there is probably fire. And there is an inherent conflict of interest that I see. It's possible theoretically to sequester this person from and it's to protect this person too, because if they have previously adjudicated cases with the police, we have to make sure that this person is actually maintaining independence from the city entities that we might actually have to work with sometimes, and that may have a conflict of interest. But could you answer my first question, is how did this arise? Because we did discuss in the budget committee the possibility of a complete attorney that's completely separate from the city. The other, because there's one actually conflict I see is that the city, they will be reporting to Mark Griffin, and it says that Mark Griffin, the director of law, is receiving these applications. Is that true?
So let me first
That's the
address
first
how.
question.
So under 115.5 and under our rules, the executive director is the decision maker for staff positions in this office, right? So what do I have to consider as a city employee? It would be very bizarre and unusual to do it any other way than this. All departments that require legal services under the city, right, have this structure. Now, there are other departments, right, so that could potentially have a conflict. And believe me when I say Mark was concerned, and they deliberated, and they talked to me about it, and we went through every scenario, and there just isn't any solid proof that this is not going to work. It works everywhere else in the city. This is how taxpayer money is funded. Second, if we were to have an attorney that didn't report to the law department, that attorney would then have to go get a decision from the law department, just like any other staff member. So it doesn't make any sense, because our pathway to getting an outside legal counsel and a paid outside legal counsel is to first get an opinion from the law department, right? Next, it's to identify a conflict in that opinion that we believe. And then it is to request an outside legal service, right? So we haven't ever come to that point where we've ever had to do that. This attorney being on staff will shorten that time period. If we do have a conflict, we don't have to have an attorney then go get an opinion. So we can hire someone with a JD into this office, but they cannot function as an attorney for the city. So if they gave us legal counsel, we would still have to go seek confirmation of that legal counsel from from the city's law department. So it doesn't make any sense to add that extra layer here. Further, this attorney is empowered to do actual attorney work for us as a city attorney. They could file subpoenas, they could do things on our behalf because they are empowered by the law department. So this system here, it's the way we're going to start, right? If we find that it's not working, we're not, we can always change it. We can always change it, but we do have to have faith and believe that we can make things work. We can't always be being afraid that, this can't work or this recommendation can't work or have zero trust in anybody that we have to work with at the city, because we do have to work with them and we do have a pathway that we have to follow. And the law is very clear about that pathway. We have to first identify a conflict. It's not a general conflict. It's not everything is a conflict, right? It is, we have to actually have a real conflict before we can ask for outside counsel.
So I'd like to continue my concerns and questions. We actually do have an incident that I remember that there was already a conflict. In our training with Mr. Spencer about conflicts of interest, ironically, one commissioner asked him if the language should include appearances of conflict of interest. And what I remembered from that meeting, and also that is documented throughout that meeting, is that he very vigorously encouraged us to include that language, which is typical of all conflict of interest documents. However, after submitting it to the law department, he completely reversed his opinion. And also, this opinion was in defiance of another law director, Amy Huff, who said that we should include this language. I have read multiple other documents from like the NIH that include this language. I've never seen a conflict of interest. I'm belaboring this point to show that there is inconsistency. I don't know why he's not here, I'm sorry, that he has changed his opinion. And I will say that whether it works for this city, I recently went to San Francisco. I took the opportunity to visit the Oakland Police Commission. So Oakland has just successfully exited its consent decree after 20 years. It was a long, hard battle for them. And people, I'm sure it has some similarities to our city, right? A historic black city and with a lot of conflicts there. And they have, this was actually the Privacy Commission of that component. So this was 7 people. 3 of them are attorneys. And all of them told me openly to not have a lawyer that is connected with the city. They tried it, it didn't work. I realize, please let me finish, it's anecdotal information. And the one person that specifically told me this is an attorney general, assistant attorney general of San Francisco. They said that this is a consistent conflict. It is not, you have the opinion of people that have gone through a very arduous process, successfully also, and I saw the same dynamics there with, and we have similar, I mean, it's not exactly the same, but it's the same issue. How do we get people with different kind of strategies at achieving public safety to move together, to collaborate, right? So I guess I'm still also concerned. I don't understand, why does it have to go? So the only law that we have to fulfill, right, is municipal law, the state law, and civil rights law. Those are things that can be interpreted and known by lawyers outside of the city. So I don't understand the process that we have to go to the city for an opinion, and it seems like that's inserted in a way to justify keeping this lawyer in the city. So we have, I'm just saying, we have, and I'm, again, Trouble, I know it's up to your discretion to choose this, but there was no discussion with the rest of us, as far as I know, maybe with the co-chairs, about whether this is the right path forward. And we will be, right, we are the commissioners that will actually make decisions that could, we have to be, like, we personally have to be indemnified and protected in our decision-making and ensure that our decision-making is lawful. So I guess I'm struggling to understand why we weren't consulted before this decision was made.
So to the chair, to the commissioner, you were consulted. These discussions happened in budget committee hearings. It was talked about the separate ways that this could go. This was not our first choice, okay? But they will always be city employees. And if you want an attorney, whether it's full-time or not, right, they will be city employees, and all city attorneys that are able to practice as attorneys report to the law department. So in other cities, when they have in-house counsel, it still works similarly. The only difference is they have the budget to have their attorney sit in those offices all day long, right? So even if we had our own counsel, they would be city employees. If they could be either just a JD who sits in here, or they can be an empowered attorney. If we want them to be an empowered attorney, they would still technically be under Mark Griffin, except they would be in this office 40 hours a week, right? So they would still have to operate that way because that's what the city is, and we are still part of the city. So even if you go anywhere else, and I've been everywhere else, when they have in-house counsel, right, they are still city employees, and they still follow the law of that city. They still follow the structure of that city. So they do report most likely to the chief legal officer of the entire city. They are just stationed wherever they may be. So other departments that have this, and again, we are slow walking into this. This is not a long-term commitment to do it this way, right? But we are still a city department. This is still the way that it is set up, and there is zero evidence to support that this attorney won't be independent and give us good advice. Their job will be to give us honest, independent advice as the commission considering what needs to be done under 115.5. They will not come in here with an agenda to not give us good advice to do our job. And it doesn't mean just because the structure of it that they report to, Mark Griffin is the appointing authority, that Mark has the final say. We have the final say on whether we accept legal advice or not. It's right there in 115.5. So if you feel like you're getting bad advice from this person, then you can say, I don't think this is working, or you can say there is a conflict. But they would have to hire a firm. We are not going to spend taxpayer money to have a firm on retainer all the time just to work for us. It's too expensive. City Council would not even allow us to have a full-time attorney under this structure. So you're talking about the difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars in billable hours to have an attorney here 40 hours a week. It doesn't make any business sense. We haven't even tried it this way first, so to throw it out the door and say that it's automatically not going to work just doesn't have a sound foundation. It can work, and this attorney will be working for us. Their job will be to support us and enhance the mission of 115.5. No other way.
So we're going to open the floor to other commissioners if they have questions.
Yes, I have a question. It's the last bullet point where it says work with the City Department of Law to mitigate conflicts of interest between the CPC and city administration. Can you explain how that actually plays out? Like, whose side are they on? Or is it more like they're doing conflict resolution? Because it says that they will mitigate the conflicts, but I guess my question is, like, would they be representing us, or would they be representing the city administration based on this bullet?
Yeah, so before we if we think there's a conflict, right, most likely it's going to be one of two reasons. Either this attorney gave us bad advice, right, or someone else gave us different advice than this in-house attorney gave us, right? And so then we would say, before we just say, let's go hire outside legal advice, my counsel would be, let's sit down and discuss it first. So this would be the person who's charged with trying to bridge the gap there in the room, right? So that it's not just us versus the law director or assistant law director, whoever it may be, right? This person would more than likely represent our interests in that mediation discussion. So yes, they would be helping to advance our case, because most likely it'll come from their legal advice. Again, their legal advice is, according to this, is supposed to be pure to us. It's supposed to be in the best interest of the commission, right, in what is lawfully available to us. So they would be advocating for our side to the law department, who may not agree with that.
Okay, so sorry, just one more. In that example, but I guess I'm thinking more of an example of, like, if we make a decision and let's say like, I guess the police doesn't like or something, they're also employed by the city. And so if we make a decision, it's going back and forth, we know we're the final authority, other entities get involved. I guess, how would they mitigate that type of conflict? Because both of us are technically city agencies. And I think if I'm thinking of this correctly, I can foresee most of the conflict of interest coming in between us making, disciplinary decisions or decisions around GPOs or whatever with the police. And then now the law director and them are caught in the middle because this is still two city entities. And they have an issue with the fact that 115 says final authority. So I guess that's what some of the commissioners, if I'm assuming right, I think most of the commission, that's kind of what we're thinking is like, how does that relationship work with the person in this position?
Yeah, so it's interesting because after talking to the law department specifically about we're working on hearing procedures right now, right? And so remember, the law department represents you. You guys are a city division, right? They recognize that where you have final authority, specifically final disciplinary authority, in conversations I've had with them, they understand that their job is to defend your decision-making in that process, not defend the chiefs or the safety directors, right? You are the final authority, so you're a step above them. So they have already made, through conversations, we're on the same page with that, right? So they're looking at it the perspective of how do we help the CPC and make them most defensible when they do exercise their final authority, because that's their job. They know it will be challenged. You won't be challenged by another city department. It won't be them that takes you to court, right? It may be, the union who feels their interest is violated in one of our decisions, right? So the law department will actually be indemnifying us in that instance versus the external party. So they are not your adversaries in that way. They recognize the law. 115 says you have final authority under certain things. So if you make that decision, they're going to help counsel you in doing it lawfully so that they can defend you when it's challenged. Yes.
Commissioner Adams.
Hi, I just wanted to just say that I definitely understand the logic behind the decision. But as I listen to more commissioners talk, there are some concerns. There are power dynamics at place. And so at a certain point, if all of these assistant directors of law are working for the city law department and Mark Griffin is the head of law for the city of Cleveland, that's still their boss, right? So there's still power dynamics in place there that, you can't foresee a conflict. But in the end, the conflict is that the person whose job to advocate for the city is still the boss of our attorney. So I do think that that's something that should be discussed and that it should be considered. And my second point is I wanted to know if has this gone out to the public yet? This announcement?
So to the chair, no, this hasn't been posted yet. It will be posted soon. But let me read to you, the boss word is incorrect. Mark Griffin is the appointing authority to empower this, right? The CPC's executive director is the boss of this attorney while they were here. So that is an incorrect statement. The idea that this person can go to the law department and say, I don't think I should do what the commission wants me to do is a falsehood. It's very clear in here. In fact, let me read you the email, okay? So, yes, the law director would be the appointing authority so that the attorney can provide official guidance and counsel that the CPC can rely upon rather than still needing another layer of review by the law department. However, for the 20 hours assigned to the CPC, the attorney would work under the direction of the CPC executive director. The ED will assign, oversee, and supervise the work of the attorney for the time that they are with the CPC. For non-CPC related work time, the attorney will be directed and supervised by Chief Assistant Director of Law, House Counsel. And they will be working on things that are not related to this job, so there will be no conflicts with what they do when they're not in this office.
I didn't get to finish my comment. I want to say thank you for that, but I don't think that it mitigates the concerns. So if this is not announced to the public yet, to Commissioner Gare Ferguson's point, is it possible to change that last bullet point on the first page to make it more explicit? Because it says works with the City Department of Law. Like, I don't like that language because it's too vague. Could it say something like work with the City Department of Law on the behalf of the CPC to mitigate conflicts of interest with the city administration? I mean, I think it's just, I don't like how vague it is, and it doesn't really identify which position they should be on.
Commissioner Benito.
Thank you, Executive Director Goodrick. I think that the concerns about this issue are valid. And I also see echoes of a struggle that we've continued to have around the idea of what does independence look like for this commission. Because yes, we are independent in our decision making. That does not mean that we are independent from the city. We are still part of the city of Cleveland. Our paychecks are paid through or our stipends are paid through the city of Cleveland. All employees of this office are employees of the city of Cleveland. If something were to happen and we needed representation, the city law department is who is going to be representing us. In terms of the legal counsel that we are receiving on issues related to policing and police accountability, independence means that they have to maintain legal independence in offering us advice, even if there is a conflict between us and another city division, including the police. So if you were to, let's say, seek outside counsel, which I think Executive Director Goodrick has done a good job of explaining, that would require us to have a law firm on retainer, which would likely not be approved by City Council. But if we were to do that, guess who's putting that law firm on retainer? It's still the City of Cleveland. You could argue the same type of conflict of interest around independence. So I think that as a commission, we need to understand the difference between being independent in our decision making, independent in our authority, versus being a separate entity from the city. And I think that no matter which way we cut this issue, whether or not, this is the best way to handle this, time will tell. And like Executive Director Goodrick said, if this isn't working, we can make changes. We have the ability to make, to make staffing changes. We have the ability to work with Executive Director Goodrich on that. If there is legal counsel that we receive from this attorney that we believe has been is in conflict with what our independence is, it's in conflict with what we see as accountability, at that point we can name that conflict of interest and we can go through the process to bring in an outside counsel. I think the last thing I want to say is that while there is going to be some really sensitive legal work and legal opinions that we will be receiving, there's also going to be a lot of day-to-day legal work of contracts, and things like our procedures and how we handle budgets within that. Like, all of those also have a legal aspect of the work that we do. So while we can also are thinking about these very specific, maybe the more high profile and contentious issues, there will be a lot of just regular operational day-to-day legal work that and I think we can't lose sight of that, because we don't need an outside firm to review our grant contracts. We don't need to be paying 50 times the amount that, we would pay an in-house counsel to review our grant contracts. And so I think that it's important to remember that we can still maintain our independence as a governing body, as an authoritative body, that in the situations where we feel like we need outside counsel because we feel like the independence has been compromised, we are still empowered to do that. But no, thank you.
Commissioner Wong.
Okay, so I still am not, thank you for all the input and responses, but I still share, I think, what I sense from many people, that it's a little insufficient kind of explanation. I do want to map out for the public the broader history of this. So according to my understanding of issue 24, the intent was to have an attorney on the commission, right? The city disagreed with that interpretation, so we don't have an attorney. So that attorney would have probably given us hundreds and thousands of dollars worth of free legal advice because they're an attorney. That certainly would have brought us closer to the everyday needs that we may have. Obviously, there's specialties in law. So, and then beyond that, our budget for these kind of contract positions was further cut by City Council. So I think, again, you keep saying that there is no evidence of a potential conflict of interest, but there seems to be at least breadcrumbs leading to a desire to limit our ability, maybe, to receive adequate counsel. And this will be through a broad spectrum of issues, not just municipal, but, constitutional law. These are very highly specialized. So I just want the public to understand what is happening at this point. I'm still dissatisfied. We did, to my memory, before I left the committee, have some conversation, but there was no decision made as to which path was best. I'm reading through this for the first time, which is also concerning to me that I never saw this before this meeting, so I'm trying to process this very quickly. I do agree with other commissioners, it's not 100% spelled out. For example, and the public doesn't have access, I guess, to this.
There's copies there.
There's
if they
copies there,
want.
but
Yeah.
it says
They're behind.
the City Law Department and the CPC seek an attorney to provide legal support and expertise to the CPC approximately 20 hours, as well as represent various other city departments in aspects of municipal law, including but not limited to contracting, legislation, and other transactional legal counsel approximately 20 hours. Right?
Correct.
So I understand what Commissioner Benito is saying, that that this could be a kind of a sequestering that could be separate. But these are overlapping issues. Are they intending, which is not clear to me, that the other 20 hours that they work with the city departments have nothing, I mean absolutely nothing connected to police reform or the police department? And if so, why is that not explicitly stated in this job description, especially when the last bullet point says that one of the job responsibilities, other duties as assigned by the city law director, chief assistant director of law, house counsel, or the CPC executive director. I don't think, I guess to me, it would be not genuine to say that there's no potential conflict of interest here, because as Dr. Adams has rightly pointed out, one of the main power structures that exist is between an employer or the person that gives you money so you can survive and as an employee. So my question also is, who has the right to fire or discharge this attorney, and who has the final authority other than you? Are you the final authority in hiring this attorney? Nobody else has any input? And do we have input on this with you?
So to the chair, the hiring of employees is exclusively the domain of the executive director. So, and that comes from, so historically that comes from, it's a common practice in boards. Boards do not micromanage their staff. They have to trust their staff. And again, I'm going to ask you to trust me, because here's the real reason why. You guys are here. I've heard all this before. I understand the trust issues, right? And I went over there, and I didn't disregard them. I raised every single one of these trust issues with Mr. Griffin. Further, I would say that I was there when that sentence in 115.5 was written. So nobody knows more than me what that sentence means about how this is supposed to work. It was never the intention of 115.5 when it was written that we disregard the entire legal department of the city of Cleveland in favor of, because you can't. It just isn't supported, it's not practiced, and we are part of this city. So, not to beat a dead horse, but I understand your concerns. I do. I am one of the people who was there, and I've heard all the concerns. Right? I get independence. I know what it means, and rest assured, you have to trust your executive director. I am not going to allow. Okay. That's why they report the executive director. You guys chose me for that purpose. Do you really think I'm going to let an attorney come in here and exclusively with an agenda of the city and steer us in the wrong direction. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen, and we can, if this attorney doesn't work, we can lodge a complaint. And further, it doesn't remove your discretion to hire counsel if you have a conflict. But as Commissioner Benito said, 98% of the work is going to be turnkey legal work that doesn't require an outside firm or an outside attorney. It's going to be basic legal stuff like case preparation. Those things are on us. And the other point I will make is, if you guys feel strongly about it and you want to say, you know what, we're kicking this to the curb, we'll have to come up with a new plan, and we probably won't have an attorney till the end of the year. This is the best reasonable pathway to attorney as quickly as possible that is empowered to do us the right thing based on my professional experience. So we can continue to debate this, or we can move forward with getting what everyone, including the public, has asked us for, and that's a solid attorney, and it will be solid. The last point I'll make is the interview panel will be myself, one of the co-chairs, the Assistant Director of Law, Stephanie Melnick, who this attorney will report to when they're not here, right? And it is not a conflict. It's general, legal, contractual work that has nothing to do with CPC stuff. And then Mr. Delonte Thomas. Goodrick and Melnick will submit final recommendation to Mark Griffin, who will meet the candidate before the green light. So Mark isn't making the final decision. On the CPC side, I am. On the law side, the other 20 hours, the person that this person will report to is. So, in the interest of time, I really don't think I have anything else to say about it.
So we're going to have Commissioner Van Leer as the last comment, then we're going to move forward to ensure. Thank you so much for your due diligence and bringing this proposal forward.
Yeah, I just want to say quickly, I really appreciate the concerns raised and also hearing the work that's gone into this, the conversation that's gone into this, and the history of it. I really appreciate that. And Commissioner Benito, the clarification again, the repetition of that independence issue, I really appreciate that. But in general, I'm very strongly supportive of this approach. I think it's clear that we need to move forward and have an attorney, and this seems like the best route. And again, as you've said, Director Goodrick, if it's not working, we can revisit it. But I really feel strongly this is an urgent issue for us to be able to have this person to work with.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Wong, I think it's imperative that we move forward.
I'm like making a motion. I'm making a motion that we reassess this.
This is under Charter 115. This is under the staff.
This is not under Charter 115. He does have authority, but we have
Thank you so much. It is imperative that we move forward. Under Charter 115, the executive director has the opportunity to select his staff. I think it's appropriate to give him that responsibility. I think we should move forward. Thank you so much. And addition, per Robert Rules of Order, is a special meeting, and we can only have the items on the agenda. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Executive Director. Thank you so much.
Fair warning as to what this will result in.
The next item on the agenda is the committee status reports. So the next item will be the report of the Internal Training Committee given by Commissioner Garrett Ferguson and Commissioner Early.
We have no report at this time.
I think just for the sake of the public that's here, we have completed 55 hours of training so far. We will be reconvening pretty soon to figure out when we want to start the trainings back up again internally for us, but we also want to make sure we can get started on some of the police work since we have met the requirement to start that as well. So we just want to give you that update. We have completed 55 hours of training so far.
Thank you for your report. The next item of business is the report of the budget and grants given by Chair Adams. You have a motion that you would like to make.
So, one of... All right, so one of the items that we need to take care of is we are Executive Director Goodrick sent out a survey to commissioners so that we can attend to gauge interest in attending the NACOL conference, which is essentially a national organization of all of the civilian police review boards and commissions that they gather every year, the annual meeting. This year's meeting will be in Chicago, Illinois in November. So I think a total of, was it 10 commissioners, Jason? 11 commissioners expressed interest in going to the conference. And so essentially, because the amount of money that we would have to spend to honor Executive Director Goodrick and the 11 commissioners to attend the meeting is over $10,000. That money requires approval from the full commission. So what we're asking for is $30,196, which comes out to $2,745 per person. So I'm going to make a motion that that we approve the $30,196 for 11 commissioners and Commissioner Edie Goodrich to attend the NACO conference in Chicago in November. Do I have a second?
Is there a second? Second. The question is on the adoption for the National Association for Civilian Oversight of Law Enforcement, also known as NACO, for a travel expense of $2,745 for 11 individuals, which will be the total of $30,196. Is there any question or debate at this time? Any question or debate at this time? Hence none, we're going to call for the vote. Sorry, I lost my sheet with the names. Commissioner Adams?
Aye.
Commissioner Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Shura? Aye. Commissioner Garrett Ferguson?
Aye.
Chair Rodriguez? Aye. Chair Ridgway?
Aye.
Chair Wong? Commissioner Wong?
Aye.
Commissioner Pete Van Leer?
Aye.
Commissioner Zayed? Aye. Commissioner Early?
Aye.
Commissioner Donaldson?
Aye.
Motion carried with Commissioner Weaves?
Aye.
I'm sorry, I didn't have my paper. But the motion is carried with unanimous consent. The next item of business is the report of the Rules Committee given by Chair Wong, which has the following rules for considerations.
Thank you so much. Before I get into the rules, I do want to reflect a little bit about a lot of the things that has been said more abstractly. Chair Ridgway gave us a very impassioned and sincere speech repeating many times about collaboration. I do just want to point out that collaboration requires the actual physical, concrete inclusion.
Commissioner Adams, you are out of order. The motion is on ensuring. I'm sorry. Commissioner Wong, you are out of order. We're trying to pass these rules forward.
I'm explaining something about the rules. Am I not allowed to?
Please pass these rules forward in order so we can go to public comment.
Could you cite the Roberts rules that I'm out of order?
Okay, so the question is on the adoption for the rules for consideration, 2.X
I would like you to cite the
subpoenas.
section in Roberts
Is
rules.
there a second at this time?
You can't do you're not the chair of.
The question is on the adoption of 2.X subpoenas. Is there a second at this time for the item? Second. Is there any question or debate at this time? Commissioner Adams?
Yes. I would like to propose, in addition to the proposed changes that were sent, in section 2.4.4, complaints related to past disciplinary actions. If we scroll down to the, excuse me?
We're not on that yet.
We're not.
That's the first one.
Can we do the subpoenas?
Yeah, we're on subpoenas.
Subpoena.
And I do want to.
Can we
Chair Rodriguez,
please
I mean-
focus on 2.X subpoenas so we can move the meeting forward and so we can have public comment? The question is on the adoption of 2.X subpoenas. Is there any question or debate at this time?
You're not the chair of the committee. I'm willing.
Is there
to
any
serve.
further question
I
or
have a
debate at this
question.
time?
I have a
2.X subpoenas.
Chair, I have a comment
Hint.
that is germane to what Mr. Adams is saying. Would I be able to
Is
make
it-
that comment?
Is it pertaining to
It's
2.X
pertaining to
subpoenas?
rules, yes.
2.x subpoenas.
It's pertaining to what he just said, so I think it's.
Okay, so 2.x
You
subpoenas.
can't add something right now until
We're
it goes
going
through the
to
committee.
take a vote.
So we can't
We're
say
going to
anything
take a vote, okay? Since there is no further
can't
question
change
or
it now.
discussion at this
go to
time,
committee
we're
again.
going to take a vote. Commissioner Adams.
Aye.
Commissioner Benito. Commissioner Shure.
Aye.
Commissioner Donaldson.
Aye.
Commissioner Early.
Aye.
Commissioner Gary Ferguson. Aye. Commissioner Reeves.
Aye.
Chair Ridgway.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer.
Aye.
Commissioner Wong.
Aye.
Thank you so much. The item of 2. Sorry, Commissioner Zaid. Aye. I apologize. I severely apologize. So the item of 2.x subpoenas has passed with unanimous consent. Thank you so much. We're going to move to the next
Commissioner-
item of
Chair
business,
Ridgway,
which is
Chair Ridgway, please, you're not on the Rules Committee. I
which
can
is
take over the.
2.x
I don't understand
receipt
why
of
you are-
citizen or officer incident-based complaints. Sorry about that. So again,
I
it's
believe that Chair
2.x
Ridgway is out of order.
ris-
I'm making,
Excuse me. Again, it's
believe
2.x
this is not
receipt
your
of citizen or officer incident-based complaints. Do we have a second at
Please,
this time? 2.x
You are
receipt.
taking, I believe that you are out of order unless you can cite a Robert's rules. Taking will be my
2.x
responsibility to pass these rules.
Excuse
Please
me.
cite it.
2.x
Otherwise, give me back the responsibility as the chair of
2.x
the
receipt
chair
of
the committee.
citizen or officer incident-based complaints. Do we have a second at this time? So the question is on the adoption of 2.x receipt of citizen or officer incident-based complaints. Is there any question or debate at this time?
Co-chair, I would just say that, this is a complicated issue here. There's tension. And if Commissioner Wong is intent on following, going through this, I think that is Commissioner Wong's right as the chair. So I just would like to give another opportunity to Commissioner Wong to lead this section.
I think it's appropriate to help move business forward to ensure that it is relating to these issues.
Yeah, but this,
It's relating to these issues. Is with all due respect, it's not all the general conversation and concern that have closed, and we're moving forward with specifically moving these agenda items.
Who has
So-
the authority to do this?
So 2.x receipt of citizen or officer incident-based complaints. Is there any question or debate at this time? Commissioner Wong, would you like to state something pertaining to this agenda item?
I would like to go through the rules that my committee has passed, that I and our committee members know best. And I'm wondering what authority you have to
So
take
is
that
there any
way.
question or debate at this time?
Why are you asking me since you refuse to allow me to conduct the business of
So
of
do
these
you have
rules?
a comment or concern that you would like to have at this time?
I feel like I'm not
Commissioner
I'm only allowed
Benito.
to have certain comments and concerns, which seems concerning to me that we are not allowed to speak freely on this commission.
I am going to jump in and say that I understand why Co-Chair Rodriguez has taken control of this because she wants to get to this, and I do echo our Rules Chair Wong that she is, that there is an important piece that she can explain the rule that is in front of us and make any points. I do want to point out, Commissioner Wong, but while I'm in support of this being turned back over to you to lead us through the approval process, you did start this with making comments about, you brought up Chair Ridgway's comments at the beginning. At least from my vantage point, it felt like you were starting to make comments about things other than these rules. And I think that while I disagree with not allowing you to go through with leading this piece, I think you also do need to stick to this agenda item and not make sweeping comments about other pieces. But I am in support of you, and I hope Chair Ridgway will give you the opportunity. Chair Ridgway. That Chair Rodriguez, poor Chair Ridgway. That Chair Rodriguez will give you the opportunity to lead this piece. But I encourage you to stick to the passage of the rules that is on the agenda.
I want to respond that you had no idea which direction, since I was not able to finish my sentence or paragraph. So
Thank you. We need to really move this forward. So 2.x, receipt of citizen or officer incident-based complaints. Is there a comment or?
Why do I have the comment? I'm taking
debate.
comments from them. You know, we passed this rule
Is
as
there
is through our
something-
committee. So why are you pointing? It should be
Is
the
there
rest
a
of them.
comment or debate that you would like to make at this time? We had these rules over 2 or 3 weeks. We really need to move this agenda item forward.
Yes, I know that we had these rules over 2 or
Okay.
3 weeks, and we have actually
So-
debated them in our committee.
So-
I don't know why you're asking me to debate it
The-
further right now.
Any other questions or debate? If none, we're going to move forward with the vote with 2.x, receipt of citizen or officer incident-based complaints.
Did you have something?
Oh, I did have something. I just wanted to, under 2.44, complaints related to past disciplinary actions, I just thought that in the section, in the second to last paragraph, with starting 4 lines from the bottom, it says this is concerning officers who maybe might want to be kept anonymous. But it says this shall be done via a confidential conference with the executive director and the chair of the Police Investigations, Discipline, and Accountability Committee. And I just thought that I think that we should not have one commissioner only dealing with that, and I would just recommend that we send this back to the just one rule back to the Rules Committee and just add co-chairs. So that's just my suggestion, that we just add the co-chairs to that, and then they will have to go back and pass it. I mean, however we want to, you guys can discuss that in the meeting, but I just feel like it should not just be just the executive director and the chair of that committee.
Okay, is there any further question or debate at this time?
I think the concern there is that not just like too many cooks in the kitchen, but it is the job of the Accountability Committee to do that. It will be brought again to the full commission. We sent out these rules just like we would, and I've been very transparent that everything is shared. So I'm trying to understand. I understand maybe adding, like, I just want to understand your
I just think that
your reasoning.
My reasoning is that as co-chairs, I feel like they should be aware of everything that's going on in the commission, whether they are sitting in on committees or whether or not they are actively involved. I just think that they are the co-chairs, and so I feel like they should at least be knowledgeable. This is a kind of a serious thing that would happen, so I just would want them to just be there to be just to get it firsthand.
Could I ask, do you feel that the opposite, the converse is also true, that the rest of the commissioners should also be engaged on things of the commission too?
I don't think that's relevant, but I will answer your question. I believe that that the charter and I think that the duties of what their responsibilities are, they do have separate responsibilities and separate duties under the charter. So I would just say, if long as they're going with the charter, that's their responsibilities, and I feel like, you know.
So it's an accountability issue. Does anybody have any other, including Executive Director Goodrich, does anybody have any, I don't think we even thought about including co-chairs from the Rules Committee. Do we have any memory of what?
You know, because
Right.
Julie.
To the commissioner through the chair. So if you're asking someone to be anonymous, the more people you put in the room, the less chance they're going to want to talk to you. So we can always inform the co-chairs, but I really believe the way it's set up is the right way to go. In this instance, you know, the more people in there, the more chance that it will escape that room. So, you know, this is, if somebody wants, if you're saying come to us confidentially, I think you really should keep it to a very small group of people until you know the scope of what they're asking you to do. So it's that simple. You know, I wouldn't want to come with a confidential complaint in a room full of people that I don't know, you know.
Any further question or debate at this time? Commissioner Gary Ferguson.
So just to clarify, so the only part that's confidential is with the executive director and the chair is is the actual, I guess, like discussion conferencing part. The rest of it is, like all commissioners will know and everything. It's just that the original conferencing part. Is that correct, Commissioner Wong?
Right, so if we read it out for the public, so an officer may use an association, a union, or their legal counsel as a proxy if there are concerns about maintaining anonymity. This shall be done via a confidential conference with the executive director and the chair of the Police Investigations, Discipline, and Accountability Committee, which is just happens to be also me.
Okay.
So I think Mr. Goodrick is right. I mean, there are already other forces that may not help maintain the anonymity of this officer. I have always been extremely transparent with every single detail that has gone on. So if unless the co-chairs have, I mean, for you to ask them to be included also puts additional time on them. So I don't know what their feelings are on that.
I'm okay with it. I think we should try this and see how it works. And with anything, we could amend it. Okay, sounds good. So if there's any further question or debate, Commissioner Chair?
I just got a comment on Commission with the whistleblower portion. I think it's the second last paragraph in 2.4. And sometimes it's not formal discipline brought against a whistleblower, but you might be transferred out of a unit because you took some action. So that's really not considered discipline, but it really is. It's a way to get back at a person. So I think maybe we should look at that a little bit different, maybe put some wording in there about that, however we might want to come about it.
Okay, so thank you. So it does seem like that there are some concerns. I do want to again remind you, I know it's been a trying few weeks for everybody emotionally, but this was sent out nearly probably 3 weeks ago. Any feedback could have been given before this meeting. So I know, and you guys are on summer vacations and things like that, but I would really appreciate not litigating this issue in the committee. If you feel that this needs to be fleshed out more, that would be fine with us. So then somebody will have to make just a motion to return that to committee.
So we're going to have you as the last comment.
I just have a clarifying question for Commissioner Chura. You're talking, I mean, it says in that sentence about if an officer is facing retaliation, but I mean, what you're saying is that the transfer would, in a sense, be retaliation. So I'm wondering, to make sure that that language of retaliation doesn't meet what you think needs to be there. It's really just a question to see if that, to make sure I'm understanding you.
Might cover it then. It would be retaliation.
Yeah. But you have some discomfort and some question about
Just the part, it's not official discipline,
it. Yeah.
so.
Okay.
So why don't we try?
So should we take a vote or send it back?
Send it back.
If we, I think maybe we should can send it back.
I guess
Okay.
I rely on Commissioner Chura to some degree, since you're in
And-
that space, and if you feel like this is okay, then great. If not, if we need to reconsider, then.
So because of the time,
I think that I really appreciate the point that Commissioner Chair is raising. I think that where we're talking about in this particular section, we're talking about complaints related to past disciplinary action. And so I think that unless it was a disciplinary action, it wouldn't count there. But there is a section for other independent investigations, and my thought is that that kind of complaint might fall under other independent investigations where an officer could come and talk to us, because that could be involved as a review of whether practices are being used, like, giving people worse shifts or moving people out of their division based in retaliation to things. So I think that could perhaps address that point.
okay, so due to time, I guess we can call for a vote, and that will determine if it's going to move forward or go back.
So I can't, since you're in charge of this,
Well,
I can
let
make
me
the
know.
motion. I'm going to make the motion to, I'm assuming that's okay, because normally I would not be able to make, I'm just going to move it back to committee. 2.4 or X or whatever, but the section that is for recipient of citizen or officer incident-based complaints, past 2.44. We had to move this whole part, 2.4. And I would ask anybody, again, with concerns to share it before our next Rules Committee meeting, which I believe is next Tuesday. And we'll talk to Mr. Churro Chu. So I'm just going to make a motion to move this back to committee. Is there a second?
I second.
Can we do a roll call?
Yep, so the question is on the adoption to send 2.X receipt of citizen and officer-based complaints, 2.4 back to the committee. Commissioner Adams?
Aye.
Commissioner Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Schurer?
Aye.
Commissioner Donaldson?
Aye.
Commissioner Early?
Aye.
Commissioner Gary Ferguson?
Aye.
Commissioner Reeves?
Aye.
Chair Ridgway?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Aye.
Chair Rodriguez? Aye. Commissioner Wong?
Aye.
Commissioner Zaid?
Aye.
Thank you. That was unanimous consent and will go back to the committee for review. The next item of business is 2.X, other independent investigations. Is there a second?
Second.
The question is on the adoption, 2.X, other independent investigations. Is there any debate or question at this time? Any question or debate at this time? Hence none, we're going to do a roll call for the vote. Commissioner Adams?
Aye.
Commissioner Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Schurer?
Aye.
Commissioner Donaldson?
Aye.
Commissioner Early? Commissioner Garrett Ferguson?
Aye.
Commissioner Reeves?
Aye.
Chair Ridgway?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Aye.
Chair Rodriguez? Aye. Commissioner Wong?
Aye.
Commissioner Zaid?
Aye.
Motion carried. 2.X, other independent investigation will proceed in our manual. Thank you so much. I know there was a bit of confusion. The next item of business is public comment. We want to re-verify the different rules for guidelines for public comment. Everyone is encouraged to participate. Please step to the mic, say your name, where you live, and be open to everyone's perspective. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mariah Crenshaw. I am the lead researcher and analyst for Chasing Justice, and I am one of the people who hit the ground with the Department of Justice to get the consent decree put in place. And so I have a vested interest in what happens here. I am also a person who survived police misconduct as well as one of my family members. So, and I have dedicated my life and picked up my father's mantle to deal with police accountability. I am very disappointed in what I've seen in this meeting and the last meeting. I am very disappointed in you, Alana, because you feel you did nothing wrong. You not only owe Ms. Bickerstaff an apology, but you owe the community a resignation. You are no longer wanted on this commission by the community. I can safely say that. Because your inability to be able to accept your responsibility and your irrational conduct shows you are not able to make rational decisions when it comes to police officers. That's the first thing. The second thing, Ms. Ridgway, is that you violated Ohio public laws. You turned off the video. I or any other citizen can sue you for $10,000 for purposely destroying a public record. Neophytes is what you are. I reject your letter, Ms. Ridgway. I and the community reject the letter. And the reason that we reject your letter is because it's garbage. I, by myself, in the last 4 years, have changed laws at the state level. By myself. I reviewed 34,000 peace officers' training files by myself. And in 7 months, 13 people sitting at a table who have dedicated themselves to this work haven't reviewed one. the state of Ohio has changed legislation based off of the work I did by myself. And so you come up here and you stand before us and you say to us that you've put the work in. You've put no work in. I put the work in. It's evidenced because laws have been changed and accountability is happening. 18 police officers in East Cleveland indicted because of my work. That's how you measure your success. But when you could stand up here and tell us how many officers you had held accountable. You two ladies are rude. You stopped this commissioner from speaking. She has every right to speak. And we wanted to hear what she had to say. And how dare you cut her off and think it's okay? And I'll be asking for that note that you pass between each other because it's public record, ladies. I want to know what you're saying. If you got a problem with Ms. Bickerstaff asking for your records, I got all your records. Thanks for taking your training, Mr. Chura, your refresher training. I got all your records. I am disappointed and I am angry that you are sitting here wasting time, and you are sadly mistaken because you are in the pockets of every single family. You are in the taxpayer dollar pockets because we're paying you. And if you don't think you're going to be held accountable to us, you are sadly mistaken. You are absolutely sadly mistaken. Now, I've kept my mouth closed for the past 7 months. And the reason I kept my mouth closed because I wanted to see what you were going to do. But what you did in the last meeting, unacceptable behavior. Unacceptable. And for you to think that you can walk up on a citizen who hit the ground, got the signature so you can sit in that seat, is something wrong with you. This is not acceptable. And the next time I come to a meeting and you cut her off, I'm going to cut you off. Because she has every right to speak. And it seemed like she the only one that got some sense up here because she asking all the right questions. I love Jason, but you are wrong, emphatically wrong. It is a clear conflict of interest for the City of Cleveland Law Department to have anything to do with this independent commission. Because the same people that are going to be defending the police officers in court are going to be coming here and telling you what you can and cannot do. It's a clear conflict of interest. That's not rocket science. You all knew you had a duty to get some money out 7 months ago, and now you tell the community they have 2 weeks to get it in, to get grant money, and if it's not in, it goes back to the general fund? Is this a joke? I am outraged, and most people who know me, Kyle, you know I never raised my voice. Am I wrong? I never raise my voice unless I'm preaching. So let me throw a little bit of preaching out to you right now. You have entered into the labors of others. You did not do this. We did this. This is our work. And when you say you came in here committed to do the job, do the job. And you are not going to keep silencing this woman right here. You're not. And that smirk on your face is disrespectful. Because ain't nothing you can do about what I'm saying. Nothing. I don't know what makes you people think coming into this meeting 20 minutes late, 10 minutes late, playing on your phones, stopping this woman from speaking because she seems to only be the one at the table that got any sense in her head. How dare you? You will not insult this community again. Because, see, I applied to be on here only because certain people asked me to. But I prefer to be on this side because I like holding people accountable. And if you think that I'm not coming back and hold you accountable again, you're sadly mistaken. I will be contacting the judge again, because you three need to be removed. As black women, it is problematic that you are sitting here with this smug attitude. You weren't even on the agenda to read that stinking letter you provided, and then have the audacity to sit back here and tell the district representative, I can say that. No, you cannot. If she can't speak, you can't speak. Nobody else is going to come at you the way I'm going to come at you. I don't play nice. I don't play well with others. It's well known. But guess what? I get the work done. And when you all start showing me the same type of results that I got by myself, then you'll get some respect. But at this point, you get none, except her. Except her. This one right here. You have all my respect. You are not going to continue to disrespect her. When she opens her mouth to speak, she speaks. Because we want to hear what she has to say. And you sit up here smug. Oh, we're going to do this, and now we're not going to put another motion on the table. He put a motion on the table, and you listen to him. She had every right to do what she was doing. Neophytes. You don't know how to conduct a public meeting. You don't know how to conduct yourselves. You're disrespectful to the public, and we have a mayor that thinks you're great, which tells us all we need to know about him. And don't get me wrong, because I was the first one to interview him and got him out there and had high hopes for him, but he's the worst. He's as bad as Frank. I said it, it's on record, public, he's worse. And he chose you, and he knew when he chose you, you weren't going to be able to do the job. He knew that. He didn't choose you for your skills. Can anybody just tell me what cease function is? You know what it is. If you don't know what it is, that's a problem. It is enough. You have wasted enough taxpayer time. You have wasted enough taxpayer money. We want to see results. It's just that simple. She's right. You don't want to listen to her? She's right. You're carrying out what the mayor wanted you to do when you don't listen to her. You are making this commission fail when you don't listen to her because she knows what she's talking about. That's the reason he didn't want me on the commission. And I'm fine with that. But you will not disrespect this community again. And I am looking for you three to either resign or me continue to push for you to be removed because you three are a disgrace. Your conduct is not acceptable. And I will not accept your disrespect. So make sure you don't tear that little note up because I want it. I want that note. I want that note. You can hand it to me before I leave if you want to. Public records request can be done verbally. But you will not disrespect her again when I'm here. I'm just telling you right now, I will shut the meeting down. It will be shut down because that's what I do. You show me results and you won't have to hear my mouth. And don't ever make me raise my voice again.
Would the next person like to step to the mic?
Thank you. Glad to see we have your undivided attention. I see you all have decided to follow in the footsteps of the city by sweeping misconduct under the rug. My name is LaTanya Goldsby. I'm the president and co-founder of Black Lives Matter Cleveland, board member of Citizens for a Safer Cleveland. I'm here today as one of 96 family members impacted by police violence. On June 30th, Citizens for a Safer Cleveland, along with Black Lives Matter Cleveland, as well as Mariah Crenshaw from Chase and Justice LLC, held a press conference to call for the resignation and removal of Cleveland Commissioner Alana Garrett Ferguson due to her lack of self-control and unprofessional conduct. We wrote and submitted letters to the federal judge, the monitoring team, the mayor's administration, as well as all 13 members of this commission, and you all have yet to respond. It's been 2 weeks. You all have yet to respond. The mayor's administration is y'all. We, the community, believe that she cannot make rational, sound, impartial, and vital decisions for her to continue with public trust and confidence. Alana Garrett Ferguson has created an unsafe and hostile work environment, not only for the commissioners, but as well as community members who attend this meeting. From day one, Commissioner Ferguson's agenda and sole purpose has been to manipulate and deceive commissioners into believing false allegations about the current executive director. She has attempted to coerce commissioners into voting in favor of removing the executive director. She has made inflammatory and divisive comments about community members and directly impacted family members. She has jeopardized public trust and confidence in this commission and her ability to function as a commissioner. It is of grave concern. I repeat, it is of grave concern that this commission respond to the concerns of this community and the behavior and conduct of Commissioner Ferguson. It is important that the faith in this commission is restored in order for the community to trust in this process. You all have a duty, a responsibility granted to you by us, the Cleveland voters. You are receiving taxpayer dollars for the seats that you are sitting in. I am tired of the sorries. I am tired of the apologies that come with no action. You all have wasted valuable time and taxpayer money on nonsense that has nothing to do with police reform and police accountability. You all have been selected as overseers for the community to uphold civilian oversight, not destroy it from internal sabotage or personal vendettas. This has been a long distraction from the work that you have been charged to do. What just cause do you have to not want Jason as the executive director? After you have heard from multiple community members, multiple family members who have come here and pleaded on behalf of Jason, because we know that he knows how to do the work and can lead you all down the right path. I support my sister in the struggle. We have been in this struggle fighting for police accountability for decades. It's not just 4 families, there's 96 families. We represent the community of Cleveland. We continue to show up because we've been showing up since 2015, and we're gonna keep showing up. Because when y'all gone, we gonna still be here. We the community, we gonna still be here. When your position ends, when your 4 years is up, your 2 years is up, we're still going to be coming to this room, engaging in this conversation, in this process. So I hope you all heed to what we have asked and requested for this commission to use the powers granted to them in Charter Section 115 and remove Alana Garrett Ferguson from this commission so you all can get on with the work. 7 months is too long. Then you want us to push our boots and feet to respond to your lackadaisicalness and getting things on the table for us to apply for grants. It don't work like that. Give us the opportunity to be able to engage properly. We brought a copy of the report since no one took the opportunity to do their due diligence and submit a public record request. We went and got the information about the allegations that were brought up against Jason. If any of y'all want to read it, you can do a public records request and get it too. But the allegations were unfounded. So I still don't understand why 7 months later we're still having a conversation about his position. I agree with you. It is very unfair for someone to be coming to a job 7 months not knowing whether or not they're going to be able to feed their family. It's called job security. Your job secured, right? You getting a taxpayer paycheck. Approve his position. The community wants him to be here.
I'm gonna just make it quick. We did this, created this right here in this room. So the public and people can have independence. There's two lives that you're gonna be faced with. The one life is the person that filed a complaint. The second life is the officer. You have to have due process for both. You cannot gear away from that. You can't because you have a personal opinion to come after an officer or either a civilian. Why you think we didn't get on the board? We didn't get on there so it won't be no impropriety. We tried to be fair, and this is the thanks we get. My brother been dead 21 years. 21. That year, I want you to look up in 2002. 6 people died by the hands of the police. I'm getting full right now because I'm pissed at all of y'all.
Would anybody else like to step to the mic?
Good evening. My name is Michelle Bell. And I just want to say I've heard a lot. This has been, I guess the best word to say is interesting, but I do want to speak to Commissioner Ferguson. And I was watching, and I watched, and you made that comment. And I want to say to you that really hurt me to say that this commission was in the pocket of 4 individuals. Or 4 families, excuse me, I don't want to misquote you, because too many lives have been lost, and whether it was by the hands of police or by someone else in gun violence. And I also want to say that my takeaway from that was that you don't understand the struggle, and these ladies so eloquently said what has been going on for many, many years, what they have done, what we are doing, on the ground, in the community to make change. That's what that said to me. It was really hurtful. It was very, very hurtful to hear that. And it also says to me that perhaps your reasoning for being here is not based on what this commission is for, why you were elected to be a part of this. There may be some ulterior motive. And I am a person that always give everybody the benefit of the doubt and second chances. But after today and listening and hearing, I think I have to support that request. I understand there can be a whole lot of passion, but it just seems apparent to me, if you had that thought in your mind and then the reaction to not understand why someone would get upset when you said that, it really, really bothered me. And I said, this person must be clueless as to why this commission is here. This person don't understand what it means to lose someone to gun violence, whether it's police or anyone else. And what we have been doing now and have been doing is so that you won't have to walk in our shoes. It is trouble. It is hard. It is every word you want to associate with the word hard. Every day, it is daily that I think about my son. It's daily that I think, man, I do not want another mother to have to feel this pain. But I sense that somewhere in your mind, you were totally clueless to what anybody could possibly be thinking. I don't want to see my sister cry. So I'm going to go to my seat because it's hard when you sit here and you think about why this could be. And I voted for that issue, for you guys to sit here. I support what she said, that we, the taxpayers, are paying for you to be here. But I think we have to realize that we want you to do the right thing, keep it above board, and be just open to whatever. Yes, maybe Sister Sharina is the only one that has lost someone to gun violence. I don't know. I don't need to know all of your stories. But it's imperative that you try to have some type of compassion and understanding, or try to even somehow even imagine what a mother a sibling, any family member could be feeling. So that really cut me when I heard you say that. I was so disappointed. I said, I have to be at the next meeting because I want the whole commission to know how I felt about that comment. And I'm one of the public that don't come every time, but I was coming to let you know, even if I'm out of order, I wanted you to know before I walked out that door that I totally did not appreciate it. I think there's much that can be accomplished with a commission like this. I think it's been said many times that Cleveland, we are in the public's view across the nation. And we don't need blemishes like this. We need to work together, whether it's this board, whether it's this group, that group, whatever. We need that collaborative camaraderie, that unity. And to have that thought just kind of diminish and puts a blemish on us trying to move forward. So I hope what you guys can take away from what we all are saying, that really consider, why are you part of this? And if you're here for the wrong reason, then maybe you should think about doing something different. Okay? Because it has to be for the right reason. It's got to be for the people. It's got to understand that, okay, Miss Michelle stood up there and said she don't want another mother to feel. And you could put all of the mothers that buried a child in gun violence, whether it was by a police officer, whoever, we're all going to say, thank you, we do not want another mother to walk in our shoes. We don't. It's painful. At times it's unbearable. My son's life was taken February 10th, 2019. And some days that day happens all over for me. And I want you guys to remember, when you're being watched, people are watching not only your body language and what you say, the rudeness please, please think about a way we can minimize this day, last time, and move forward in love and in unity. And I thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Okay, let me make that clear first. If somebody's trying to cut me off, you can, but don't worry, this is not the only microphone I have ever been holding. Now, June 14th, I came in late, but you guys have all seen me from the beginning, because I'm one of the people starting working on community safety, community harmony, and community growing together since consent decree happened, 2015. I represent the unhoused and extreme low incomes, people with maybe severe mental health issue and also severe physical health issues, which police force are not trained for. Mistakes do happen. So I recognize to have a police reform, meaningful reform, true reform, is important. The whole country needs it, not only Cleveland, but physically, I'm here right now. So I will do that from here. I myself have not been killed by police. However, if something happens tomorrow, I get killed by police by any mistakes, I think I can rely on them to get justice for me, not exactly all of you. Between June 14th and today, I did attend one of the committee meetings and I make the comment. Ms. Jan Ridgway almost had a problem with me because this is what I said. I will repeat it today. If any of you coming to this commission, you never even read consent decree when you were even interviewed, do you really think you should be here? If you came here just because you think you belong to a group of people, the only victims in the community, do you really think you should be here? Cleveland has been one of the older cities. But unfortunately, not only white people and black people here, other peoples are here too. So if you think only one group of people has been victimized by the whole systems, you are wrong, and you should not be here. Remember, we have a different people here. Everybody has an opportunity to get victimized by any kind of crime, especially nowadays, gun violence. It doesn't matter is it from the police, by mistake, intentionally, or by people who are not police at all. So if you really consider sitting here is looking good, you are not actually getting paid. I really want to correct that. You only get stipends. You are not a true city employees. So I do support the idea that you should keep this entity, the independence, so you can actually do the work. However, if you think being independent is you can say whatever you want without even considering if whatever you said will hurt other people in the community, you should not be here. Among you 13 people, if you cannot even let one another talk freely, what should we expect out of you? We have a commissioner from the beginning. Keep proposing amendments on something even not established. People watch this on the live stream. So if you don't even understand how government system works, you should not be here. Yes, other people say, oh, Lou, you are too harsh. You should let them learn. The problem is we are all racing with the time. We have been behind decades and centuries. People have been killed for the wrong reason. So unfortunately, let me break the news to you. The time you can afford to learn, I'm sorry, you have to go through a crash course. The crash course sometimes maybe only 5 minutes. We do not know when will be the next incident happening in town. Will you be able to say for sure all of you are ready to take the position to really protect the community? You are not ready. I already also said that in that particular committee meeting that many of you were selected, appointed to ensure the failure of this commission. I state that again. So if you don't know you are or not, you can come to ask. We will let you know. And you should not be here for your own good. Even you have a heart to help this community, but it could be out of your capability. You should let the people who understand the scope of the work, having the knowledge and the ability to do the work, to come here do the work. The person sitting there, he's one of them. Unfortunately, I have to say one thing, even you consider me as a public enemy, go ahead. Lots of people coming here, they do have the mentality that we will not let any white people tell us what to do. I'm sorry. Death does not have any discrimination on your complexion. If you are killed, you are killed. All your loved ones surviving in this world suffers forever. So please, if you actually coming here just for your own ideologies, please don't take this position. You already have a good job. You are already in your field as a good person to contribute to the society. Let somebody else do this work. Thank you.
So I'm going to have to put a motion on the floor to extend it for 15 minutes so that we can allow ample amount of time for public comment. Can I please have a motion?
I motion to extend the meeting 15 minutes for public comment.
Can I have a second?
I second.
So the question is the adoption to have additional 15 minutes to allow for public comment. Any question or debate? Hence none. We're gonna call for a vote. Commissioner Adams? Aye. Commissioner Benito?
Aye.
Commissioner Schura? Aye. Commissioner Donaldson?
Aye.
Commissioner Early? Aye. Commissioner Garrett Ferguson?
Aye.
Commissioner Reeves?
Aye.
Chair Ridgeway?
Aye.
Commissioner Van Leer?
Aye.
Chair Rodriguez? Aye. Commissioner Wong?
Aye.
Commissioner Zayed?
Aye.
Motion passed. Rosie, you can step to the mic.
I'm sorry. Some people yell and scream when they get upset. I cry. As you can see, so my name is Rosie Palfy. I'm not a Cleveland resident, but I was a member of the City of Cleveland Mental Health Response Advisory Committee for 7.5 years until this year when the city took it over. I have previously experienced homelessness, and I'm a disabled veteran, and that's why I was on that committee. And for 7 years, I advocated for them to get city residents on the committee. I'm sorry, I am so mad at you, Commissioner Garrett Ferguson. You sit there and you look like you don't care. You're, like you're bored. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you what you did, okay? I liked the staff that used to work here. I miss them. They have great staff. You can't even look at me. So let me tell you what you did. I'm a disabled veteran, okay? I was raped when I was serving in the Marines, and I have post-traumatic stress. And let me tell you what you did. You brought up that investigation again that triggered me 5 years ago when it came up. Okay, how many other people like me in the community were triggered by you bringing that up? Okay? The families aren't the only people who support the staff. I've made numerous public comments supporting the staff, supporting Jason. And let me tell you something. I cannot count how many times Jason has talked me out of quitting advocacy for the last 7 years, okay? And I have made a lot of difference. I'm very upset that the two co-chairs, and the problem is, you all need to realize that this is a reflection on all of you, okay? You're acting like what happened on the 14th didn't happen. So there's no proposed rules to address things like decorum, security, public comment, period, okay? And then we have the fact that a vote was taken 4 weeks ago, 7-5, to choose Jason to be your executive director, and no press release, just because a minority didn't get their way, they're going to pretend like it didn't happen. It's kind of interesting because I've got the statement here that the mayor gave when he was questioned by the media after the drama. And this is what it says. He has faith in the commissioners and confidence that the new commission will be effective at carrying out the work outlined in Charter Section 115. So my question is, if he has confidence, then why doesn't he have confidence in your selection of an executive director? Now, this bickering about a lawyer, I was here for that, was it a 5.5-hour meeting, your first meeting, orientation? I can't remember which legal lawyer was here explaining that. I don't know if it was the law director or if it was Delonte Spencer Thomas, but somebody stood up here and explained to you the whole concept of what would happen with a city attorney, when you could hire one. So I really don't understand. I mean, I understand the questions, but do you really think that Jason is gonna not go to bat for you? So I gotta tell you that all of you look bad. The fact that 2 people made a public comment, a letter to the community, it looks like the commission's divided because only 2 people wrote that, okay? Did everybody else see it before? I mean, that's the problem. Okay, you two have great leadership qualities. Don't get me wrong, okay? I'm impressed with both of you, but you don't understand you're a 13-member body, okay? It's not just 2 people. And so people are watching you, and it looks like I have to watch the news to find out what you guys are gonna do or might do. It's not right. There should have been a press release that went out about a number of things. And I want to know why Jason's still in limbo. And so I made this shirt, Team Jason. Unfortunately, I couldn't fit the rest of the staff's name on it, but I will continue to wear it to your meetings until the mayor appoints Jason Goodrick to be your permanent executive director. The bottom line is, nearly 60% of the community voted for issue 24. Okay, they wanted to make the police commission permanent, and that would not have happened without his leadership and the hard work of his staff. So, thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to step to the mic?
I just have one question. My question was, I wanted to know, where can I find the minutes from these meetings? I've tried to locate and I can't. All of them. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to step to the mic?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kayla. Yeah, I'll just talk closer to it. Okay. I'm Kayla. I wrote you guys a letter. I didn't send it to you. Maybe I'll send it to you at some point, but after the last meeting. There are a couple just very specific things, I guess I'll just say. So Terry Wong, sometimes Commissioner Wong, seems like sometimes brings up stuff that feels like minutia. And then the problem is that it isn't actually minutia, is what I'm learning. Now, I don't understand a lot of the stuff that she talks about, but eventually it seems like it becomes clear, and then I realize how relevant it is. The problem that feels like it keeps happening is that you guys, I feel like you get frustrated or worried that people are getting bored or something, or like that minutia isn't important, and instead of actually considering it or just kind of putting to the side the appearance of like how it might be looking, or that this might not be a super interesting meeting, or we might be talking too much about one thing, it just, you go straight to that and cut it off. And it seems like we should let that happen. That we should get into that minutia and kind of let that happen. Sometimes we lose the forest for the trees when we get into too many details, and I understand that. But like, we're here, we're listening, and I think a lot of us are understanding why. The last time there was the issue about was something brought on the agenda before the meeting. And it seemed like at the beginning of the meeting that we were arguing over minutia. Like, seriously, like it wasn't brought on the agenda before, but now it's brought. But the difference is that it did seem to impact the way that the vote would go. It did end up mattering. It was something that seemed like it didn't matter, but it did. And so I guess what I'm just saying is that, it feels like you all want to be impressive. And like, so instead of that, which we all want to put our best foot forward. Like, I'm up at a mic right now and I don't know who's watching, and that makes me anxious, and I trip over my words, and like, you want to come off the best way, but like, try to get into that minutia, I think. And like, I don't know, a lot of the people here very well, but it seems like we're all trying to pay really close attention and understand why these things might actually be important. So, and then the other thing is that when people start to get on each other in these meetings, you guys don't stand up for each other. It's really, it speaks to all of you, every single one of the quiet ones too. The quiet ones too, the people who seem very well-intentioned too. Like, I had to yell out, I'm out of order. I shouldn't be yelling as a public, person who's just here, and say, is nobody going to stand up for Commissioner Wong? In that moment when the chair was from, as far as I could tell, completely out of order. and totally overbearing in your power and authority that you didn't have. None of you said anything. I mean, eventually you did, and so, but because I'm worried that you're worried about coming off as unpopular, and we're all worried about being unpopular a little bit, but you gotta be brave, basically, I guess. And I don't know. And also it's just so apparent that you have absolutely no trust in each other. And that, I think, I just will speak to that very briefly. It takes a lot for me as a person to believe that people are acting nefariously. I think that a lot of the people who come to this, of all of our different experience and sort of role in this, what oftentimes it seems like it comes down to is that we have a difference in an understanding of strategy, how we want to approach something. But what ends up happening from what I'm watching is that it's you take your difference in opinion of strategy and then you extract deeper meaning from it, that the person is acting nefariously. Now, I've heard a lot of stuff since I've started to be involved in this about who's listening to who and who has too much influence in what. And I don't know what to say about any of that because I am relatively new to this and I'm listening to it, but I don't know. So I feel like the point is that you have to figure out a way to try to give each other the benefit of the doubt a little bit, a little bit about each other's intentions and try to just talk about that strategy. And figure out why, in what ways you differ in that respect. And then I guess last thing I'll just say is that last meeting, it made me really sad. It made me really sad. But I haven't lost hope, I'm still here and I still believe in what you guys are doing. I'll wrap this up in a second. In just 1 second. But it did seem like there's a way that, right, so Commissioner Wong gets into the minutia of stuff and some people seem to get annoyed by that. But then there's this other side, the other end of that spectrum, which would be, Commissioner Ridgway. I don't know, if I'm being honest, I don't know what you just said in that speech. And I feel like it was a lot of words and it's good sentiment. And it's good sentiment and I do appreciate it. But I also watched you say, let's take a vote on this, and we'll the last meeting, let's take a vote on this, and we'll trust whatever the outcome is, up or down, we'll go with it. I listened to that whole interaction, and then you guys voted, and then you contested the result, and it just, I don't know, it's so I guess what I'm saying is that on the other end of that spectrum is too much broadness and not enough depth, and then sticking to your word on that. Sit in your grace, when in a moment like that, it didn't go the way that you wanted, but it is the way that it went. And so, okay, I've gone on for a little while here, but that was pretty much the idea. So I don't know if you guys, I don't know if it's a retreat that you guys could do together, something, please. Okay, maybe not, but something, I guess I'm just saying something where you could try to develop again that sense of that you have goodwill, that you're coming to this with good intentions. And that's what I got. Okay, thanks.
So Lou will be the last comment. Oh, sorry, come on.
Let me just say a little bit of words right quick. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. You probably just saw me storm out the room. And Darnell Brewer, State Representative, District 18. And before I was a public official, I was an activist. I traveled down to Columbus several times. And I sit in committees while people on the other aisle call me names, talk about my district, talk about everybody sitting around this table. And if you knew me, if I didn't wear this right here, this would have been a totally different meeting. But there's a certain decorum that I have to give. When I'm speaking, people pay attention because I'm the state rep. They don't look down and keep writing notes. when people come before the Senate, the committee down in Columbus, I, as a representative, may be writing notes, but I'm listening to their concerns. And that shows me the lack of respect that Commissioner Ferguson has, not only for myself as a public official, because some of you should be ashamed the way she's acting, because you walked with me, literally walked with me to get this seat. And for you to just sit there, and I'm not trying to sing you out because you saw me storm out. Had to pray before I come back in here. Because you are held to a certain standard. No matter how these people talk about me in Columbus, no matter how I sit there in the committees, I have to look up at them. I have to listen to them. And then, you know what I do after sometimes the meeting is over? I go put them in a corner and talk to them. This is why this community now sits right here now, is asking for your resignation. I would never ask for no one's resignation because I'm a public official. They see me do something wrong, they may ask for mine. But right now, I'm talking to you as a public official. You have a certain standard that you have to give this community. There's a certain way you have to react. And all these young ladies and young men that came before you, you shouldn't have rolled your eyes and looked up. You should have did like some of the people do on my committee when I'm there and they're giving a speech and I know they don't care. They shed a little tear. They do something to show some type of emotion. They would nod their head to say, whatever, you know, I agree with you. There's a certain amount of work that needs to be done for this community. We have so many talented individuals sitting around this table that we need to do something. So myself as a public official, and I'm putting it out there, I'm going to write Judge Oliver and have her review these meetings. I'm going to write the mayor, Justin Bibbs, and ask him to review these meetings. I represent you all on the state level. And I do not get this. And I'm telling you, go to Ohio Channel, just like we do. I tell you all the time to look. You had the right to speak, young lady. You had so many valid concerns. You had the right to say what you had to say. That little 2-3 minutes you could have gave her could have alleviated so much. There's so many times I'm in the committees and I'm like, oh God, I know they ain't about to address it, but give them that 2 or 3 minutes and then cut them off. Let her say what you had to say. That would just give it just a little bit, just a whatever. She would have came back to the point. I guarantee she would have came back to the point. But I'm imploring each one of you because we have too much at risk to lose. I have too much at risk to lose. I can't show this to my Republican counterparts down in Columbus and say, hey, you know what? Cleveland is on their way and any more training officers, money for training officers, for his police officers. First thing I'll say is look at that meeting. Look at how they're acting.
They done said it.
This is why, and this goes to a point that when I was before I was this, I was an activist. Ms. Vaughn would tell you, I probably was about, but now I look at it from a different point of view. I'm probably one of your biggest advocates down in Columbus. I need this to work. Our community needs this to work. I need you, Ms. Ferguson, to look up when people are speaking to you, to show some type of emotion, to show some type of respect, even if you just say, sometimes I got to say sorry and don't even mean it. These people are crying for help. We need your voice. We need you at this table. We need you to do what needs to be done. We need you to shine. So, once again, I'm just asking everyone, because I know many of you personally shook your hands, like you walk with me, help me get the seat. I appreciate it. But I do need everyone to just take a step back, do a little deep dive, and find a way to make this work. You got to make this work. No matter what odds are against you, You have to make this work. I do it all the time. And if I'm doing it wrong, people tell me, trust me, my email it blows up. Voicemails blows up. I get letters every day. You will be surprised at how many people look at the Ohio channel and notice what tie I had on, how I was crooked, or what I said, or what I didn't say. So I guarantee you how many people are looking at this station right now, or are going to be viewing it. We have a problem, and we need your help in solving it. Again, my name is Darnell Brewer, State Representative, District 18. I just so happen to be the State Rep for District 18. Thank you.
Okay, so Lou, you'll be the final comment for tonight.
Oh, thank you. So tonight I won't be cut, huh? Okay, same thing. All of you probably are very good at what you do in your field. But that doesn't mean you can go across to do something you have no idea of. Obviously, you guys do not know you have been played by the bigger politics. This is the reason why from the beginning, people see that through the live stream or whatever, or when we come here in person. Sorry, this is a commission with death or life, that kind of work. You die or you will live, that kind of work, okay? It's not beauty contest, it's not personality contest. Lots of you trying to impress people to look good. These people, you really have to leave because your mental health will be badly damaged throughout this process. You are not really meant to do this kind of work. You will have a mental breakdown eventually. This is probably the reason why we see a commissioner making a statement with a microphone, all of a sudden standing up, turn around, and charging at somebody sitting at the audience who actually had the right to be angry, but they did not charge to this table. So that would not make you look good. Even your intent was not bad. You may have some kind of misunderstanding, or you may have some kind of ideology people do not know very well yet. But unfortunately, we do not have this kind of time to learn everything about everybody. So the way you guys deal with something you don't know, that really shows not only you don't have trust among yourselves, you don't actually have you don't have any picture about the situation, the type of politics you guys are actually facing. You only know how to play the little politics. So people may see that as, that's why I use the term as a personality contest. But sorry, people see through that. Even you don't really get truly paid as a salary or wage, you only have a stipend. But still, the staff are actually getting paid by the city. If their job is not settled, they cannot feed their family themselves. So you actually show the behavior that you are not taking care of the people at all, because you don't even take care of the staff who can best support you. In that case, how can the community to expect you to actually protect us, help us to get a justice back to the people? Lots of you do have good ideas. Maybe you should be in the community to raise voice, to propose something instead of sitting on this seat. Sitting on this seat, you have to be able to take the part when you have to look ugly. You can be impressively ugly, not be pretty. If you try to look good on everything you do, you are not really the best person for that, because your mental health issue is in danger. This job, if we call that a job, it's not something you should go through, because eventually you will look extra ugly more than you can imagine. You don't deserve that. Please leave. That's more than half of you. Thank you.
Thank you. So that will conclude our meeting. Thank you so much to the community for continuing to provide your input and hold us accountable, as well as each commissioner. It's not easy, but it is definitely, we have our work set out, and I look forward to working with each of you. The meeting will be adjourned at 8:56 p.m.